What's up everyone? Welcome to this week's pre-week analysis video. We'll also be including today's market analysis as well. I do know that I'm one day late on this pre-week analysis, but let's go ahead and get all of this done, and this could be a type of video that is a trade recap and also a pre-week analysis. So let's dive straight into it, and let's go ahead and check the news that is out there for this week. And this is the week of April 19th to April 23rd. So let's get straight into this. So today there was not really much news at all in terms of specific time points, right? But what we did have happening that was important, that likely resulted in us actually wanting to stay out the market, was that Trump was speaking to Putin today from around 9 a.m. Central Time for around 2 hours. That's essentially the entire market session. So today was not the best day for peak market conditions simply because Trump was speaking, and whenever Trump or Powell speaks, we are flat in the market because you can never predict the movement that results from what Trump or Putin says. But tomorrow we have Canadian CPI, and then not really too much news on the market open side. Yeah, not too much news. We do have Eurozone consumer confidence, so I would take a 5-minute interval here at 9 a.m. But other than that, it should be a pretty decent day, Tuesday, May 20th. On Wednesday, we have GBP CPI, and we have crude oil inventories at 9:30. Again, it's not really a day that has too big or high impact news. Just take another 5-minute interval here at 9:30 to avoid that news occurrence. And that was for Wednesday the 21st. Now on Thursday, we do have manufacturing PMI and services PMI, so do be aware of a 45, and you do have existing home sales and natural gas storage. Not too crazy, definitely would include intervals at that time of increased news. So 5-minute interval at 8:45, 5-minute interval at 9 a.m., potentially 5-minute interval at 9:30, but I think just 9 and 8:45 should do enough. So the best option would likely be to start trading after 9:05 and being passive until then. And that was for Thursday, the 22nd of May. Now on Friday, we have nothing really on the US markets that's really essential other than US new home sales, which you shall take a 5-minute interval just to be on the safer side of things. But other than that, this week looks to be a typical week with low news, but we do have to be aware of any occurrences where Trump starts speaking or any of the above. So please be aware and know the news before you get into your week. Now that we've discussed the news, let's go ahead and see what's up on the charts and what we can see regarding technical analysis. So let's go ahead and mark some key levels out. We did break those highs recently. Liquidity there. Main liquidity there as well. And this would be a 4-hour. So what we are seeing right now is not too bad at all. It's quite expected, but one thing that can let us know the movement much more than any of these zones, in my opinion, is going to be volume profile. And the volume profile can indicate direction within the market, while these zones and liquidity levels can indicate you areas for you to look out for and seek reaction and continuation following a reaction from the specific levels. So there's that. Those are essentially the main levels that we're looking out for. We did see an initial tap into this 4-hour and a rejection down with decent strength breaking that low. But it seems like we found a lot of volume here at the bottom that helped us push back up. So without even opening up the volume profile, I can almost assume that there was a decent amount of volume around this circle which I've created. So around this relative area, there was a decent amount of volume traded within this area. So this area is definitely an area to look out for. And to prove that, let's go ahead and mark the volume profile out. Well, I mean, it looks like we got proven wrong. It looks like instead of a high volume node being here, it was a low volume node, but that essentially still ties along with what we were initially looking for, right? Because here is a low volume node, and low volume node is typically associated with the imbalance within the market. And if we do really seek out that specific zone, we do still see a pretty good amount of volume there. The only areas where we see low volume is between the area where we don't have proper market structure, because as you can see, as there is structure forming here, the volume is starting to grow once again. So this overall area, I should not have considered it a high volume zone, but definitely an important zone regarding volume growth and divergence. And that is evident using the volume profile. Let's go ahead and mark out our lower levels, and then let's mark out a longer range volume profile in order to understand what the market may actually want to head to. But let's go ahead and do that. The first range I want to mark out is from there to around the start of this range right here. And as you can see, these levels down here have been a key area where lots of volume has been transacted. But if you look up here, there's still a lot of volume being transacted up at these highs. So there is not really a reason for price to come down all the way there and actually make price move lower, because since we're making a good amount of volume up here in the auction, price just may want to settle here and potentially head higher into a volume profile that is higher, or even consolidate within this range. But looking at market structure that we've been seeing recently, it's more likely that we head towards the upside. But let's go ahead and extend this towards these lows down here. And yeah, same thing as you've seen before. We do have lots of volume here, 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 and also here. But the main one that's important is that we're creating lots of volume where we're currently at right now, almost equaling the point of control, which is a great sign showing that this area is an important area for us to look out for, and there's no reason for us to continue down, because from where we are sitting at right now, market has been in a good value. But let's keep extending it to these highs right here and see what's up there. So yeah, honestly, the same thing, right? We've been generating a lot of volume here. Lots of volume has been transacted here. That's good. And also lots of volume has been transacted here at these highs. So what I'm thinking is that if you can break this supply zone right here with strength, then price should be able to categorize and move itself up and take out these highs right here on the longer time frame. But if we see a stronger break of structure from this area right here and showcase that we're clearly shifting trends within the market with visible structure, then potentially we can seek for reaction upon this liquidity level. If we don't return back up from there, then we can likely continue until an area where our point of control is located. But that's essentially what we're looking for on the longer time frame. And from where we're sitting at right now, if we break this supply zone and these levels associated with that area, we potentially might be able to continue up towards these highs right here and see more upside from the market. Let's go ahead on the 1 hour and see if there's any key levels for us to notice about there as well. Looks to be essentially the same. But yeah, this area right up top there is a very essential area for us to look out for. So that was essentially what I'm looking out for. Here would be the preferable outcomes. If we're simply looking on NQ, we will go ahead and check out ES and the VIX as well to further prove our hypothesis. So let's go ahead and reopen that market profile that was there previously. There we go. And let's create our predictable outcomes. So first thing is we see a break of this and we continue up until this area right there. Second one is that we see rejection from that area, come down to this area right here, see reaction up, or we break down where we have to see a reaction from this lower area, either to the upside, or to the downside. It all depends on what the market wants to give us. And from looking how the market has reacted today, Monday, May 19th, it does seem that this preferable outcome is much more preferable than the other ones. But to showcase that more, let's go ahead and check out ES and the VIX to further solidify our ideas. So let me just do some quick charting regarding it. We already looked at the news. One thing you look at is that areas typically with a lot of compiled and contracted liquidity tend to be the areas where lots of volume has been traded, right? So if you look at this area, you see liquidity here, 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 and previously here as well, but you see lots of compacted consolidation that mark the end of a previous strong move and the start of a continuation. And typically those areas do tend to be associated with high volume, but we do just have to be watching the markets, watching the volume profiles, as those give us more information about the actual market. But those are those levels right there. And let's go ahead and see if there's anything here. We do have a 4 hour there. We do have a 4 hour supply zone there. There's liquidity there. And those are essentially going to be the main ones. So let's go ahead and mark out the volume profiles here as well to solidify if we have anything else that we should really look out for. Let's go on to the 1 hour as well and see if there's anything there as well. And as you can see, there is 1 hour standard liquidity there as well. So let's go ahead and check out on the 4 hour if there's any areas for us to look out for. First, let's mark out this area right here. And nothing much we really gain from that other than we have been generating a decent amount of volume there, but do still want to be looking and aware. Now let's take it to the bottom. And yeah, like remember what we said before about if there was lots of compacted and constricted liquidity associated with high volume? Yeah, look at that. And typically you just say consolidation is equal to volume, and that's also typically right. But there are also areas when we see big moves that are also associated with high volume. It just all depends on the volume and the insider volume within the market. Now, from what I see, I'm not really seeing much. From ES, it does look like we potentially might revert back to the downside here, but we cannot really take upon that because we have just made a newer high, and you can't just assume that price won't make more volume here without letting time actually depict that. So I am going to move this volume profile up once again and then understand. So what it looks like is that price does look like it wants to continue higher until this level right here. So I am still bullish on ES for the time being until we at least touch this 4-hour area. But we may need a retracement before doing so, because that aligns with the volume profile pretty nicely. And if we break the 0.75 V2 level here, then we might head down to these two liquidity levels, or we might see reaction to the upside. We just have to work level to level, similar to what we saw in NQ, but the volume at these highs is not too significant as we saw in NQ, but it likely will be if we extend this even more before that consolidation range. And as you can see there, if you look at it, the volume is significant there. So honestly, I'm expecting a move up, but the preferable outcomes are going to be the same thing as we marked out on NQ. But now we have a clearer look as to how much higher we may go to these levels, where we shall seek a reaction as well. Now let's go on to the VIX and see what's there as well. And the VIX, we just have to go along with market structure. And what I'm seeing here, well, let's see. We did make a pretty big gap here on the VIX. But from what I'm seeing regarding structure, the VIX is not really giving us much to work with, because the structure on the VIX is not too clear as of where we are standing right now. But on the 30-minute, what it does look like is that we can continue to head lower until this gap has been relatively filled. So if we don't see a reaction from this area, then I can expect downside at least to these lows right here. So yeah, definitely more downside on the VIX, and since the VIX is the opposite of ESN NQ, potentially more upside, but we just have to see how we react. So preferable outcomes are likely going to be the same, but I'm not seeing too much of an edge from the VIX. But these are essentially going to be our preferable outcomes right here on the higher time frame, which means that we can likely expect a move within the first range of the arrow. So it's unlikely that we get all the way down there, but we might get all the way here, and we might get all the way to this relative area as well. We just have to wait and see what the market is actually going to give us. But let's also look at what happened here today within the market and see if there's anything that we could have captured on. And Yeah, but I've decided that I'm going to make that a separate video than this one that I've created right now because I don't want to overfill this video with too long of a video. We're gonna simply make this a pre-week analysis video, and the market analysis video will also be uploaded very shortly on the YouTube channel here today as well. So I hope you look forward to that. If you have any questions regarding what I've discussed here today, please feel free to leave a comment down below or go ahead and join the Discord server. Everything is completely free, and I highly recommend you to join, as there's good resources and good people that can help you kickstart your journey within trading. That's all I have here for today. If you have any questions, I'm just repeating what I just said now, but I guess I'll see you guys next week for the next pre-week analysis session, this time on Sunday instead of Monday, and I guess I'll see you guys then. Have a great week. Goodbye.